All right, we have Feng Ho with us today to do an interview for us. Feng, why don't you uh, introduce yourself to us for our audience?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for this opportunity and happy to join. And again, my name is Feng Ho. I currently serve as the CIO at St. Louis Community College in the great state of Missouri. And the St. Louis Community College is just a wonderful community college district that we have, altogether five different campuses, and then we have a different programs that we offer, and just like any other institution, both online and on-site, and we offer a variety of different programs for our students that includes the educational program for those students who are considering transfer student, as well as skills-based and for the jobs. And so we are very fortunate that I am very fortunate to have the opportunity. I'm honored to join this college and work with a great IT team and building what the college's strategic priorities that includes what is called the STLCC Transform initiative. And we're also focusing on improving our own institutional business process efficiencies, as well as help create this great student digital experience, and that help with the student enrollment as well as retention.
Wonderful. Thank you, Feng. Could you tell me a little bit about your career journey, Feng? How did you get here where you are today?
Yeah, I have been a college CIO for over 20 years. But however, prior to my current job, I served for 3 years as the Chief Digital Transformation Evangelist at the Maryville University of St. Louis, and which is not too far from where I am right now. And in that role, that's more strategic and the reporting to the university president directly. And basically, I helped build this digital transformation roadmap, and uh, help implemented a number of digital transformation initiatives, and primarily what we call it as the three Lighthouse projects. And the first one is the digital employee, and that leverage really and a digital brain and AI to provide that kind of human-like that online support for our students. And the second Lighthouse project is what is we call it as the student uh, uh, digital student ID, that provides a contactless environment for our students. And the third one and is the Blockchain University initiative, and that would provide the students with real-time, verifiable and immutable and student credentials. So these Lighthouse projects that we started implementing right before the pandemic started, and of course we did not know. However, each one of these Lighthouse projects, once completed, all helped and to create that environment for our students to learn online and to get support online. And then after they finish and they get their credentials, that includes degree diplomas and transcript online as well. So as for my career, that I have always enjoyed working in this ever challenging technology field, and particularly in the community college area, where I really do see that the technology play a very critical role that can help level the playing fields for our students, right? And to entered into this real world that is really powered by a lot of digital technologies.
Excellent. It sounds like you prepared the university for the pandemic without knowing the pandemic is going to come. So I'm sure that would have helped with the transition into online everything during pandemic.
Well, obviously, it was not myself, but I helped,
Sure.
the university as in my role and to support that kind of initiative. But it is absolutely correct that at that time, that the college, the university president and their senior executives have that kind of vision and support for those digital transformations. And then I just want to make a point here that, of course, that everyone has gone through this past few years, this COVID, pandemic period. And but what I'm saying is that the technology and the digital technology can make a difference, right? It's just if we play that, this kind of a digital transformation well, and then in the event like that can actually really help our students to, to really get through this kind of a period and then still survive and thrive in their academic journey.
Absolutely. Very well said, Feng. We all have seen how critical the usage of technology was during the pandemic for us to not even to thrive, even to survive during the pandemic. So very well said. I'm intrigued by some of the lighthouse projects, as you call it, that you were able to lead at Medieval University. Could you tell us a little bit more, if you don't mind, about those lighthouse projects? I'm most intrigued about the blockchain. I know you and I talked a little bit about it at a conference. Can you tell more about the blockchain initiative that you led for the benefit of our audience? Because when I think of blockchain, I think of NFTs and cryptos. It's interesting to hear from you that you have used blockchain for something at the university context.
Well, really, I mean, the three lighthouse projects that I was mentioning at Maribel University and was a kind of a collective effort that, as I said, that was driven out from the university president's Dr. Mark Lombardi's his vision, and of course the university's executives and the senior leaderships and collective effort, as well as everyone, right, from the student services and to IT to academic services and the facilities and so forth. So keep in mind that in the current higher education environment, and particularly in the IT area, and to create a digital transformation roadmap that can really help the university transform is a big task, right? I mean, that's probably an understatement. That oftentimes what you will find out is that there are many competing priorities, and everybody is trying to say that we need to do this area to help students and that they're all important, but with the limited time and the resource and then personnel resource, and then how can we then really pick the one that would have the most impact to our students and support them and to help them succeed, and that really takes a number of important factors in the presidential leadership, as well as the support from the campus wide, and also, of course, as someone who was entrusted by the university president to take the lead in this area, then I put together, and based on at the time the major trends into higher education, as well as the the priorities of the university, strategic priorities of the university, as well as the higher education kind of mission and a vision to support our students, right? So, for example, let's just talk about the first one, that the digital human. At the time, and of course, there's a tremendous amount of need for the students to get the support instantaneously. And of course, the whole industry, we have moved from providing different services, and starting from the help desk and to the, after hours support, to email support, and then text, chat support, and then move to the chat bot, and trying to provide some kind of intelligent support for our students. However, and the students are humans, people, and as people, and then the best way to really address their needs are not only kind of intelligent based on the student, but specific requests, but also based on the situation they're in. And then if we can offer that level of a digital human, kind of like a human-like of support, to a certain level that's personalized support, that would be great. And that will create an environment. And certainly during this highly stressful pandemic period that when our students had to go through, and when you have a ready and a very comforting voice there to help address the student concerns. And as a digital human being, and that is powered with this technology called the digital brain, that can actually, through the digital camera, and look into the student face, understand the facial expression, and even come up with a certain kind of a response to help the student really get whatever help they need. And so that has really been extremely helpful to Maryville students. And if anybody who's interested in looking at how it plays, and that they can visit maryville.edu and to learn more about this particular initiative, because that digital person is right there on their homepage. And the second initiative is, student digital ID, and that leverage the what is called NFC technology, near field communication technology. Essentially, what it does is to let student to go into certain kind of environments, such as get into restricted areas, such as residential halls, get into their individual dorm rooms, and even going to library, cafeteria, and all those kind of areas that with that particular mobile app that they downloaded on their mobile phone, and then they can just enter those areas without touching anything, right? And even when they go to cafeteria and purchase certain food, and then at the checkout, and they look at the total sum, and they can just place the phone to the register, and then they can walk away without, again, touching anything. And during the pandemic, one thing we ask everybody is to keep that social distance, as well as try not to touch any areas because of the potential transmit of those viruses. So that really also helped. And this is also particularly useful when we use the student ID to track some of the student immunization record, and so forth. So that's another area that is help or still continue helping the students to making their kind of lives easier. And the last one, you wanted to know a little bit more, and which happens to also to be my personal passion. I love to talk about a blockchain university, and then essentially we have built over 20 different services at Marivale, starting from providing students with the real-time and the verifiable and the shareable and the learning credentials such as the degree diplomas as well as transcript, right? And as we all know today, when someone is looking for a job and we will be asked to provide an official copy of that transcript, and then we get online and first putting in that request, and then oftentimes we need to pay. And after we made a payment, and then we just wait, right? Some people even just say, wait and pray. And sometimes it takes hours or if not days, and even can be weeks. And at Marivale, the students now are getting their transcript real time. And as well as that transcript has additional value of being immutable. It's tamper proof. So that can be instantaneously verifiable and shareable. So the students can either directly send those transcripts to their future employers, and or if they are advanced to a higher level of study to different schools, and that they can share that transcript as part of their credentials as well. So that's on the credentialing side, and then the entire university's faculty contract management now have been also automated, and then on the smart contract. And so the university's academic area really, in the past, and then for probably a certain number of times a year, that the academic side, and that they started preparing this, contracts for the adjunct faculty as well as the full-time faculty. And for the adjunct faculty, of course, is based on the courses that they're teaching, so that should be a couple of times. And for the full-time, that's once a year. But then they have to really work together hard and spend days, if not weeks, trying to get the contracts mailed out to the faculty members, and for them to review, sign, and send the signed contract back, or later, even though they use some PDF format. And not to say that a PDF format is prone for some kind of manipulations and tampering, but however, now all that week-long, if not longer, process have been reduced down to just for the faculty member, just a couple of clicks, right? And so they will receive the blockchain smart contract will with just a couple of clicks by the administrators to send the contract to the adjunct faculty. As I was an adjunct faculty teaching both on-site and online classes, and I have received an email like that. And in the email, there was a contract as an attachment for me to review. And then right within the email, there are two buttons, either accept or decline, right? I mean, so in my case, I just click on accept this contract, and then literally within 5-10 seconds, and I got an email back with the co-signed contract for me, and then for my personal record, and then it'll be done, right? And then the smart contract also some reminders, like normally the first batch, let's just say if we send it out to 1,000 adjunct faculty, and then generally speaking, within the first 24 hours, about 60 to 70% of people would have already responded, with the majority, 97% accepted their contract. And then, so there are a few, and that either they're busy, and then the smart contract have built in the reminder, so they wait for about 5 days and then send the first reminder, and then just so get people's attention so they can respond, and then wait for the second, fifth day, and then send the second reminder, and so on. And then after a certain number of days, and then that contract would expire. And by then, the vast majority of people have responded, with very few literally just didn't get a chance to respond. So that also not only increased the job efficiency, but also significantly improved the accountability, right? And as well as the reporting, because you now know on the record how many have responded and so forth, and how many have accepted. You know that immediately, and then you can create any report that you want to. And we have also created a number of student service smart contracts, such as the request for leaves, right? The student leaves that actually is quite a complex process than what I had thought, and because it involves, and particularly, and if there are financial aid involved, it involves quite a few departments and areas. And we also provided this student payment plan now are being served on smart contract. That's just to give you a few, but we've built over 20 such smart contract to provide that services on blockchain for our students.
This is an excellent example of how you can use the technology to provide an improved service to our customers, right? So very well done, Feng. You and your team have done a great job in implementing those projects that I'm sure Mary will enjoying the benefits of.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, because the blockchain as a technology has evolved, and most people heard about the blockchain because of the cryptocurrencies, right? The Bitcoin, Ether, and so forth.
Yep.
But then later, when there are some other kind of sensational news and hit the news media about the NFTs and about how some of the digital arts and ended up auctioned for millions of dollars, and also people may have heard about the DeFi, decentralized finance, that are leveraging the blockchain technology, and then and that continues evolving into, then now we have heard about things like DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, that is running on smart contracts. And then Web3 is kind of the next generation of the web services, and that can provide the users the direct ownership and of their ID, as well as about any of the reward solutions. And then, of course, everybody probably has heard about the metaverse, since the Facebook its effort to first of all, it changed its own name to Meta, and then they're building some kind of a metaverse. And so there's a common thing that most people don't understand, that which is the underpinning technology, right?
Yep.
And all these different services, different technologies are powered by blockchain. And so that's the the bottom layer for all these other technologies. So I just want to clarify that.
Got it. Thank you, Feng. Switching gears now, could you tell us about your current infrastructure layout at your current college?
Yeah, as I mentioned, that St. Louis Community College consists of 5 different campuses, and then so we maintain a kind of a virtual wide area network, and that supporting all of our constituents, and that's the student, faculty, staff, and administrators, as well as our community, other stakeholders, and so forth. And in terms of infrastructure, and of course, we have to maintain a very strong network security, and then as well as the fundamental network services support, such as the Wi-Fi, and the security also includes, of course, the security systems. That's the security cameras and the access controls and so forth. So, on top of that, of course, we are running a number of, a broad variety of different applications, starting from our ERP solution, LMS, and web services, and the instructional services support, and now throughout the pandemic, of course, we are now supporting multiple online collaborative platforms, and that includes Microsoft Teams and Zoom, and several other collaborative platforms for our students to work online with our faculty members and other students for their kind of learning activities. And at the same time, and we now have expanded our support in terms of infrastructure. For example, we now have expanded our Wi-Fi coverage to all of our parking lots. So then, there may be our community members, and who are not necessarily our current students, or maybe other students who may not have the Wi-Fi or broadband connectivity at home, and that they can certainly come, because we're a community college, and we want to support our communities as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, I did ask that question so our listeners can have an idea of your infrastructure and your layout. What's your strategy regarding infrastructure for the next 3 to 5 years, Feng?
Well, I'm relatively new, just started my job about a month ago, certainly, and I'm still in the learning phase, trying to understand then how our college, IT infrastructure is laid out and how it works. But however, I think it has become clear that certainly we can dive in a little deeper later, than whatever the infrastructure that it has to support our mobile strategy, and it needs to support our cloud strategy, and it needs to be secure, and we need to fundamentally address our students' learning needs and the faculty's teaching needs. And so in terms of infrastructure strategy, and as much as we are all hoping that one day we're going to probably move everything to the cloud, or to move to mobile, but we will continue to support this kind of infrastructure with the really high throughput, high bandwidth kind of connectivity, right? And so you're talking about, for example, that we need to have this interconnected campuses and with high speed and connectivity, and then on each of the campuses, we're looking at to have fibers throughout, and even possible to have the fiber to the edge devices, whatever that edge devices, if they're not connected Wi-Fi through Wi-Fi. So, and I consider those are some the basic elements for an infrastructure strategy for us to consider. Right.
Got it. Got it. Great. Great. Excellent. What changes, Feng, do you predict to happen in the next 3 to 5 years in the IT space that we all should be prepared for?
Well, you know, different organizations have all made several, if not the many, predictions about the IT's future, right? And the trends, and specifically for higher education, we have, you know, organizations like AGCOS and even Gartner, and then certainly Deloitte and quite a few other organizations. They're all predicting every year what are the top 10 trends for IT and you know, in the higher education space. And we know that you know, without following any particular priority order, we know that the several of these either we call it the emerging trends, or I call it actually is a reality, right? And that that are here and will stay and continuously. For example, that we all know that the you know, pandemic has actually accelerated the implementation of many digital technologies, and so that's going to stay. And uh, even though many of us, we had already planned, and things like mobile first strategy, cloud first strategy, and then you know, the pandemic has accelerated, and then also that acceleration in certain ways helped the broader acceptance from our users community, and that includes students and the faculty and administrators as well. So that's going to stay, and then that would mean then how IT will continuously supporting the increasing demand of all these technologies. So that's an ongoing trend. And then the next one is that we are also now through this evolution of technology, and also through several major efforts of the major businesses, as I mentioned, that you know, Facebook and Microsoft and others, and we know that students can learn better and faster by engaging in some immersive learning environment, right? That involves you know, virtual reality and augmented reality, that
Yep.
also involves, and as I mentioned, you know, the metaverse and the blockchain, the AI, and the Internet of Things, and all those kind of technologies as well. So then, as a trend, I think that IT needs to at least understand, if not starting experiment in those areas. And you know, people sometimes kind of call it the new technology or digital trilogy, right? That's AI, blockchain, and Internet of Things. So these are the areas that we need to continue to support. And of course, among those trends, and we are also experiencing unprecedented this intensified cyber attack, right? So then IT will have to forever uh, take on this burden, to provide the security, IT security, to protect our, constituents and our institutions, and to protect our, customers and that's students, faculty, and employees, their privacy and their identity, and the the you know the sensitive and the PII data and so forth. So these are, generally speaking, some of the ongoing trends, and that I think that uh, is emerging. But I do want to also add, one more trend that has been kind of emerging, and that is how can we then go beyond just to provide the general technology support for our customers, but further leverage the digital technology to really promote and strengthen the DEI, right? The diversity, equality, and inclusiveness, right?
Yep.
And we all understand that there's a huge digital gap, and that that's being created with now, ever more advanced technology that we know can benefit our students and benefit everybody, and we just need to help create this level the playing field for everybody, regardless of their kind of family economic, socioeconomic status. So that is also very critical. That's
Absolutely. Yeah.
trends. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, technology has a major role. It always had a major role, but I think in the near future, the role of technology is going to only get more and more important in delivering efficiency and productivity to our students and the customers, whoever we are serving. So thank you, Fong, for your input on that. Since pandemic, as you know, working remotely has become a thing, right? So what was your experience dealing with working remotely? Along with that, I'm also interested to know what's your perspective on where this is going. What is the future of working remotely, especially in the IT arena?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. And as I mentioned, that the mobile strategy uh, and included in the infrastructure strategy should also include support that this remote working, right? Either is working from home or working remotely wherever uh, the employees or our uh, collaborators are and the students are. So with that being said, I think that there are clear advantages, and there are also some downside. And that, so, for higher ed, we just have to, manage this through some very careful planning. And I personally really, like this, the work from home uh, option. But however, as a CIO, we also need to be very strategic and to leverage this as an option and as a kind of a tool to help improve the work efficiency and help better support our students. And so let me give you some of the benefits, and that other than some generally understanding that the staff can stay from home. For example, right now, for those businesses, and I'm not sure that has been widely adopted by higher education, particularly public higher education institutions yet or not, that all of a sudden, when we are searching for talent, and then uh, the search space got broadened because we don't have to just limit those kind of search area to the local, geo space, and then uh, to some extent that we can certainly hire someone from another state, and that's one area. And then the other area is then that we also helped broaden this opportunity to many people with some kind of a disability, right? And uh, many of them may not be that easy for them to transport, to move, and then uh, now by staying at home and staying productive, and then that also helps, of course, address the issue I mentioned earlier about uh, the diversity and the equality and the inclusiveness, and then we can, bring or help bring more people into the kind of, employment, and then into this, job market and so
Yep.
forth. So, but on the other hand, that we also need to be very careful. That's why I said we need to carefully plan this ahead to understand that each of the jobs may have its own characteristic. So, as the managers, and we need to know how we can measure effectively the productivity, right? And to continue, because we are responsible for our customers and constituencies, and as a public institutions, and we're also responsible for our taxpayers, and then to show that we are leveraging these resources uh, effectively, and also to the best interest of our customers and our constituents.
Mhm. Absolutely. Great. Um, so this podcast, the audience for this podcast, Fong, is not just IT leaders that are playing the leadership role today, but also it includes those who want to be the IT leaders, right? So my question for you is, as a CIO, as an IT leader, what advice would you give to budding leaders in IT?
Well, thanks again for asking that question. And then, uh, for us, we have a responsibility, and because we're not just an IT leader, but we are also IT leader who are serving in the education arena, right? In this space. So we also need to provide that kind of opportunities. And as I mentioned, that I've been a CIO for over 20 years, and for every job that I've had in that role, and it is I personally view this as a very sacred and critical responsibility to mentor, and then to provide that opportunity for the other IT staff, either within the organization or from outside the organization, that opportunity to plan for their career. And then if some people there aspire to be a CIO in the future, and then I would try to find opportunities to provide that kind of real opportunities for them to participate. So, for as for the advice I would like to give to those who uh, are aspired to be the future CIO, number one, I said I would say that this is a great plan, and that this is probably the best job that I certainly have enjoyed, and then that will give them the opportunity to not only lead in this kind of a highly kind of exciting and then also advanced technology area, but also what they see how technology can play really a critical role that actually help people, either enhance their work, job, or help students to succeed. And so I highly encourage people to continue to pursue that, number one. And number two, being an IT leader. And that's, implied in the job title, right? You're Chief Information Technology. So then we do need to have a broad and also in-depth knowledge about both the existing technologies as well as the emerging new technologies. So we want to make sure that we understand the technology, and at the same time we speak that the language, right, as a technology leader. However, several other tips that I like to offer is this, and I see this as my role also to translate that the technology jargons into plain English and use the layman's term to help the non-technical people understand what the purposes are for adopting technology. And this is particularly useful to me to work in a higher ed environment, right? You got to have that capability to speak in plain English or just in English about the technology. And that is one. And then the second one is then that to be a CIO, just to have the profound knowledge about the technology is not enough. And fundamentally, a CIO needs to be a people person. And I oftentimes said that the CIO is just a chief technology cheerleader, right? And how you can really bring that level of enthusiasm, that kind of excitement to the college community about using technology, right? Because that's really what it is all about. Is to help our users, our customers, to use technology. So there are certainly several other things that I have found to be very useful, and being an IT leader, such as building a supportive network, right? And to get to know people like yourself, to learn from you and other people, what they're doing, great. And then so we can learn, and then we can share and with each other. So to have that kind of a supportive network in either among the college staff and the leadership team, and as well as professionally with the leaders from other higher education institutions as well.
Wonderful. You nailed it, Feng. It's a great summary of an advice, compilation of advice for anyone that aspiring to be IT leader. That's great. Did you say, Feng, your title at Maryville, was it Chief Digital Transformation Officer? Was that the title itself?
No, the exact title is Chief Digital Transformation Evangelist. And this is a very interesting title, and I really enjoyed it tremendously. Being an evangelist, remember I just offered as one of the advice that is that the CIO should be a people person. At the same time, the CIO or technology leader should be able to speak in plain English and trying to help people understand
Yep.
what's the impact. So being an evangelist, that's my job and my role. And so I've been going around the country and like just the conference that you and I met and talk to people about not only the great technologies such as blockchain, but also about the accomplishments that we as an institution to share with others, and hopefully then others can find it helpful, useful as well.
Great, that's an interesting title. So you are basically doing the CIO role in this fancier title, you might say, right?
Well, I didn't manage operations, so it's a very strategic position
I see.
at Maribel. So the university has a CTO. It doesn't have a CIO, but however, yeah, the difference is that it is focused on more of an digital transformation strategy.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying that,
Yeah.
Feng. We are approaching to the end of tail end of our conversation. I just want to switch gears and talk about you now. Tell us about your favorite hobby.
Well, that's actually probably another advice that as a CIO, you probably want to maintain a healthy balance between work and life, right?
Absolutely.
And making sure that you don't bring quite as much those stresses from work to home. And
Absolutely.
I do have several hobbies, and including, and I could just pick one, that I have a saltwater reef tank at home, which is a 300-gallon fish tank, right? And with the saltwater reef corals as well as saltwater fish, and it creates a very beautiful and very relaxing environment for me. And even though to maintain the fish tank is actually quite laborious, but that takes my mind away from just the ongoing kind of work, and then let me change my mind about about building a kind of interesting environment for the fish and the corals to grow. So I enjoy that tremendously, and I actually carried that fish tank from Florida to New Mexico and now to St. Louis. So I definitely
Interesting. Very nice. Very nice. Great. Thanks for sharing that, Fang.
Yeah.
What business-related book would you recommend for my audience?
Oh, I have actually quite a few, and I consider myself a reader extensively, and of course, we all have to read technical papers, and but I would highly recommend a book that is that was written by my personal hero, that the former Secretary of State, General Colin Powell. And not only do I admire him, I actually have met him in person, and then he actually signed, put his, signed a book that he had written, and that the title of the book is called "It Works for Me," and so highly recommended that. Again, as I said, that General Colin Powell is such a larger than life figure, but however, and by reading that book, I really draw a lot of strength, and learned quite a bit about how to become a true leader. I mean,
great.
That has benefited me tremendously, and I just highly recommended that book.
Great, thank you, Fong. I'm a feverish reader of non-fiction books as well. So I'll add
Yes.
it to my list. I didn't get a chance to read this particular book, so I'll add it to my list.
Yeah.
Excellent. Last but not the least question, where can my audience find more information about you?
Well, I am, very, at least I'm trying to become very obvious on LinkedIn and, the professional social media. And then also I have appeared on a number of news media articles. With most recently, I was featured in an article that was published on CNET, and then over the years. And so, but one thing probably they will find one thing in common, that is my passion and my also experience about building the blockchain solutions. And so I certainly hope that that'll be interesting to them. And my LinkedIn ID is just my name, Feng Ho, Fenghou, and people certainly can find. And I'm looking forward to having any kind of conversations in the future with any of your audience who are interested to contact me, or want to get any further information about IT, CIO, and the blockchain.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Fong, for your time. Really appreciate it. I enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure my audience also will enjoy this conversation. And we wish you all the best. And I'm sure you will receive some connection request as a result of this uh, interview that you are doing for me. And I'm sure that gives an opportunity for some of the audience to learn from your experiences and your background as well. So thank you again for the time, and looking forward to more of conversations in the future. And I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and really enjoying the conversation.
Thanks, Juan.
Bye.